The takeover of Afghanistan is complete. 20 years after a US-led invasion removed the Taliban from power, the group is back in control. It says there will be no revenge, and it's told Afghans to stay in their homes while a new government is formed. But many people fear for their lives and livelihoods and are trying to flee the country. Mobin Nasir reports.
Scenes of utter chaos at the Kabul airport as thousands of people try to board flights out of the country. Taliban has overthrown the Western-backed government and taken over the capital. And for those trying to leave, this airstrip is the only exit. But only a few Afghans have managed to board flights as foreign governments prioritize the evacuation of their own citizens and local staff.
I went via a Middle East country to seek assurances from the Taliban military leadership to make sure that they stuck by their words, that they would protect, effectively allow the airport to function and allow our people to leave. I was given an assurance that was the case.
Others are trying their luck at land borders with Pakistan, Uzbekistan and other countries. But for millions of Afghans, there's no way out. Many families who fled fighting in other parts of the country have been camping in parks and other public spaces in the capital. They say they have no food, water or money.
I don't have enough carpets, blankets or other things. I have no good food to eat. I only have 20 Afghans in my pocket and I don't know what I should do. If no one provides food for us, how can I take care of my children?
Years of conflict have already debilitated the economy, and even those who have jobs say getting by is difficult.
As the war in Afghanistan continues, there is insecurity everywhere. The war has an impact on the country's economy and its people. There are no jobs.
Nearly half of the population lives below the poverty line. Less than half of Afghan men and only about 15% of the women can read and write. And despite receiving billions of dollars in aid, little has been spent on the country's infrastructure or on assisting those most in need. Back in November, international donors had pledged $12 billion for poverty alleviation, infrastructure development and healthcare. The ascent of the Taliban could slam the brakes on the aid. With the loss of this support and the political uncertainty in the country, living conditions are likely to only worsen for many Afghans even after the fighting stops. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
For more on this, Torek Farhadi joins us now from Geneva. He was an economic advisor to former Afghan President Hamid Karzai, as well as the then Finance Minister and now ousted President Ashraf Ghani. Good to have you back with us, Torek. What a difference a few days make. You and I were just talking about how swiftly the Taliban was making its advances across the country. At the time, US intelligence suggested that the Taliban could take the whole country, including the capital Kabul, within the next 30 to 60 days. It's happened pretty much in the last 24 hours. What's your reaction to what's happened now, to the fact that the Taliban is now back in control of the whole country?
Oscar, my reaction is that the Taliban's win was political rather than military. In the last days of ex-President Ghani's or fugitive President Ghani's reign, his most trusted lieutenants and associates handed over the province of Ghazni, the province of Logar, where President Ghani was born, and the province of Jalalabad, which is adjoining the Torkham important border with Pakistan, to Taliban without a bullet being fired. The Taliban negotiated their entry into Kabul. Not a bullet was fired in Kabul when the Taliban arrived, up to the office of the fugitive president Ashraf Ghani. We are happy for that because, as the report said earlier, refugees from the north are camping in streets and in parks in Kabul. And if there was a firefight in Kabul, there would have been a humanitarian catastrophe, even more than what it showed. In other news, Reuters has reported that President Ghani has fled with 3 cars full of cash, US dollars, and a helicopter full of cash. And at the last moment, he has left some of the cash on a parking. And more worrisome, he still has signature authority over Afghan central bank's $9 billion in reserves. And until such time as the world body doesn't recognize the Taliban government, this $9 billion in reserves is in nobody's hands and under Ghani's signature.
Now, some estimates suggest that around 90% of the Afghan population lives on less than $2 a day. A research report by the US Congress in June suggested that the economic outlook for Afghanistan was uncertain at best, and that was obviously before the Taliban's advances in Afghanistan. What's impact will the return to power by the Taliban have on the Afghan economy?
Well, for one thing, if we arrive at peace, a lot of the Afghan economy, the high prices and such, were because the borders were not always open with Pakistan because of bad relations with Pakistan during the former regime. And also transport costs were very expensive because the Taliban had blocked the roads, and there were all kinds of groups, including the government, Taliban police, who were taking money from trucks coming from the western customs of Herat, for instance, up to Kabul. So all the prices had a markup. This markup would disappear. If relations are good with Iran and Pakistan, goods will circulate easily. And probably food prices will come down in Kabul if peace prevails. This is why we need the Taliban to take responsibility and instead of sitting in Doha, come and fill the void, because if the void continues too much, there is risks of looting, there's risks of all kinds of personal settlement of scores between people after 20 years of war. The Taliban is sitting in Doha right now and watching what's happening, their leaders, it doesn't make any sense.
Now, in a survey by the Afghan Ministry of Mines and Petroleum, it put the country's mineral wealth at around $3 trillion, which obviously is no small amount. It says that there are vast reserves of gold, industrial metals, and perhaps most importantly, lithium, which is used in rechargeable batteries, which are in high demand around the world. Does that suggest to you that perhaps there is this untapped potential in terms of Afghanistan's natural wealth? And when might we see the benefits of that being unlocked and unleashed on the Afghan people?
If I may give an example which might seem funny, Afghanistan is like a porcupine. You can't really touch it because of the security situation. And even the United States, despite 20 years of presence, and before that, the Russians, they knew about these reserves, but were never able to really exploit it. This will be for China, because the regional superpower of this region will be China. China has already said it will recognize sooner than any other partners the Taliban regime. They have already opened the red carpet for the Taliban on July 28. Before all of this, before even Taliban were in Kabul. And China is not a country that goes anywhere militarily. It just waits. It knows Afghanistan is not going anywhere. It's right here. And when the time comes, it will come for the exploration of these mines. It will be part of the project of Belt and Road initiative, where China already has signed up Pakistan, and China also has signed an agreement for $400 billion of investment in Iran. And Afghanistan was the missing link. If Taliban are friendly with China, then China has direct access to the Persian Gulf.